Hi, everyone, and welcome to this November edition of Entropia Consulting's Lunchtime Learning, where today we are talking about delegating and how to delegate effectively and efficiently. I know delegation is something that a lot of us want to do, and we think that we are very good at doing it, but there's a certain segment of us or population of us that don't delegate simply because we don't know how to delegate. So in the next 15, 20 minutes or so, I just want to take a couple of moments and talk about delegating and why it's important and give you a couple of tips on how to delegate and how to delegate more effectively and efficiently. For those of you, hopefully this is not your first time because we've been doing these every third Wednesday of the month since 2017. That was one of my goals for the year, to be able to deliver a monthly lunchtime learning professional development segment that would in some way help you with your professional growth and development or even some of your personal developments. And so as we come to the end of the year, I wanted to make sure that we at least covered this topic of delegation and what is delegating. For many of us, when we hear delegation or when we hear, oh, I need to delegate, it's something that simply says, oh, well, I'll just push this work off to someone else or I'll let someone else do that. Many times we confuse delegation with dumping or giving someone busy work, particularly when they're people that are in our organizations or in our labs where we are their manager or supervisor and they need something to do. So that's the first thing you really have to understand or consider about delegation. When we learn to delegate, we're actually leveraging our time. So we've talked about time management, we've talked about goal setting, but how do those two things or two areas work together as it relates to delegation? Well, if you've set some goals, then that means you more than likely have priorities. If you have priorities, then that means that there's a certain element of time management that you're going to have to master in order to get these priorities done. Prioritizing the priorities, if you will. So when it comes to delegating, you have this long list of activities or tasks that you need to do. And you're only human. You're only one person. There's only 24 hours in a day, and you need to make sure you're spreading those 24 hours out. And I've always said time is money, so it's your currency. So how are you spending your currency definitely relates to how you're spending your time. So when we think about delegating and how we delegate these activities, how are we prioritizing those activities? How do you decide, how do you determine what it is that you will do versus what you can allow someone else to help you do? And see, the interesting thing about the delegation in this day and age of technology may not always mean you're delegating to a person. You may be able to delegate some of your activities to some of these automated systems, but it does require that you set them up. So first rule of delegating, it really starts with self, and it means that you have to be organized. You have to get your thoughts and activities together before you're able to effectively delegate to someone else. And that's probably more difficult. That's probably why many of us don't delegate, because it requires that we first get our stuff together. We have to know what it is that we're doing. We have to know the prioritized listings of things. I was doing a workshop or seminar this past weekend on goal setting, and someone asked the question, well, I have all of these goals, I have all these things that I want to get done. They're all important, they all seem to be priorities. How do I get them done? You can still get them done. You don't necessarily have to physically do the tasks yourselves. You can delegate. So if you have something that's very important that needs to get done, but it's not necessarily urgent, then you can delegate some of those tasks. Let's think about it this way. When you delegate to someone, again, you're not just shoving it off or pushing it off on that person. Yes, they're responsible for getting the task done, but you're ultimately accountable for the task being delivered. So just because you push off work to someone else, that doesn't mean that you now don't hold any accountability and even a certain level of responsibility for getting it done. When you are delegating, another key rule of delegation is one, that you're organized yourself, but two, is that you trust the people that you're giving the task to get the job done. And with that trust, again, it's about assessment. You are you feel comfortable enough in that person's skill that they will be able to complete this task with minimal input or effort from you. Because again, if you're always watching over them or they're constantly coming back to you asking questions on how do I do this, what do I need to do, then that defeats the purpose of delegating. And it really falls back on you. Well, you assigned a task to someone who was not equipped to properly do it. So that's not effective delegating. Effective delegating means that you understand the task, i.e., you're organized, that you trust the person doing the job, i.e., that they have the skill set required to get the job done with minimal input from you. You're not just data dumping. You're not just giving them things to do to keep them busy to get them out of your hair. Once you realize that you can sort your tasks out, sort your ideas out, and then give them to other people to do, you'll find that your time frees up to be doing higher value activities, higher priority activities from your list of priorities. So again, why don't you delegate more? Some people don't delegate just because they don't trust. But when you think about it, particularly if you're a manager or you're leading a group of people, by delegating and assigning tasks to your students, to your direct reports, you give them confidence. They have the skill set. They may not be expert in it as you are, but they still have the base level of understanding to be able to get the job done. And what does this do? When you delegate activities to them, it allows them to grow. So, one of the big things about Entropia and things that we do is we focus on leadership and developing the leader in you. I call it epic leadership. There'll be much more about epic leaders coming out in 2017, so stay tuned. But before you can lead anyone else, you've got to learn to lead you. And some of the best leaders are able to delegate and delegate effectively and efficiently. That's how they're able to get a lot done and seem so successful, because they realize that it's not just about them doing. They work through people. How do you use your team? How do you use your resources to get your goals and missions accomplished? That's a key leadership skill, delegating. Organization, understanding the skill set of those around you, of your resources, and then assigning the tasks to those people that can get them done. It may seem simple, it may not seem as difficult, but it really is a skill that we work on and that we would need to work on as we become more effective leaders. Honestly, for some people it is, though, easier just to do it themselves. But those are the people that you see that are burned out, that typically are complaining about not having work-life balance, and are generally stressed out because they're always trying to do something. And oftentimes they're not able to complete anything because they're always working on something and never really able to get any closure. When if they would learn to delegate activities, then they could be more effective. They would have more time to do other activities, to see completion or closure to some of their activities or events. So just take a second and think about, how effective of a delegator are you? Do you delegate? Do you understand what delegation is? I'm just going to recap some things, because the one thing I love about the webinars or the lunchtime learnings, you go back and you hear these things, but repetition is good for the soul. So I want to reiterate and repeat, delegation is not task dumping. It's not pushing off activities that you don't want to do to someone else. Because if there are things that need to get done and you push them off to someone else in the name of delegating, and it doesn't get done, then it still falls back on you, because ultimately you're accountable for the work getting done, even if you're not responsible for doing it. Does that make sense? You see the difference? I assign you a task, then that makes you responsible for getting the task done. Now, whether you do it or not, that's up to you. But if I've assigned it to you, then I'm ultimately accountable for the product delivery, whatever that product or project may be. Responsibility, accountability. That's why it's really important that you, when you're going through the delegation process, that you understand the skill set. You understand, is this person really capable of getting this done? No, I don't want to do it. And it's easy for me just to push it off on someone else so they can do it. But if they're not capable of doing it, then it's still going to be more work for me getting it done when they don't do it or if they're not able to do it. So think about that. Delegation, not task dumping for lower priority or activities that you just do not want to do. What's another thing about delegation and busy work? You don't know how. How do you do it? How do you begin the process of trusting others to be able to do the work? Well, it starts with talking. Sometimes there is a level of training that you have to go through in terms of being able to delegate. But assess your resources, assess those people in your lab. What are they good at? What do they like to do? See, that's another thing. There are some activities that perhaps you don't like to do, but other people may love to do it and can do them very quickly. They're very responsible in turning around and delivering the product, and you can still be accountable for it. For instance, some people may love to input data. If you have raw data and you need to have that data transcribed into a spreadsheet, that may not be something that you like to do. It may not be something that I like to do, but you may have a team member that loves that activity. They love taking paper, looking, and inputting it into a spreadsheet. So those are activities whenever you have a project or you need data translation, go to that person. That's the person that is responsible and will be responsible for delivering that project. Delegate wisely. You would not want to delegate that particular task to someone who, number one, doesn't have a very wide knowledge or understanding of what spreadsheets are, is not proficient in Excel or any type of databases. You wouldn't want to delegate to that person, even if they didn't have anything to do. Even if that person is sitting around twiddling their thumbs day in or day out, that's not the person that you delegate that particular workload to, because what's going to happen? 9 times out of 10, it won't get done. Or even if they're eager enough to learn about how to do it, they will spend more time asking you questions on how do I get this done? What are the resources that I need to do it? And ultimately, it doesn't save you time. You're not leveraging your time because you're doing double work. You're teaching them how to do it, but you're actually ending up doing it all by yourself anyway. So, organization, trust, assessing the skill set of those around you, and then it just becomes a matter of doing it. Start off small. If you're a person that has never delegated before, and part of the reason that you have not been delegating is because you don't trust people, well, think about it this way. Everyone deserves an opportunity, even if there is an opportunity for failure, because you will learn in your failures. But don't give them a big task. That is not going to do anything for them, and it will definitely not help your stress level. But if you can assign a small task, kind of like a trial period, if you will, but that helps you in learning and understanding and actually being able to say, hey, you know what? It's okay. I can allow someone else to do this particular part of the work and help me. It helps you grow, it frees up your time, but it also helps them to grow and develop. Do something small, you get a small success. The next time you go back, you can delegate a larger activity and see how that works. I'd love to hear from you. I mean, our webinar today isn't going to be long. Don't want to take a lot of your time, but just wanted to give you a couple of tips on delegating and delegating to get the job done. It first starts with you in understanding all of the tasks, all of the activities that you have to get done, prioritizing those lists of things. That's what is going to take the most time, is you understanding what it is that you have to do. Once you get all of your activities and projects, deadlines together, prioritizing them, what's urgent, what's important, what has to be done now, what can be put off for later, then you'll be able to see what you can delegate. There are some activities that are very sensitive, and you don't want to delegate sensitive or very confidential projects or matters to just anyone. But that goes into our second step where we talk about assessing the skill set of those people in which we will be delegating activities. Make sure that the people that you are delegating activities to or the people that you're assigning tasks have the requisite skill set, that they're capable of doing it. And in most cases, you want to make sure that they're able of doing it. So ability versus capability. Ability meaning that they have proven experience in doing it. Capability means that, they have background knowledge that could allow them to complete it. So capability and abilities are very important when delegating tasks or when assigning tasks to help you get your job done. Organization, assessing the skill set, and trusting. Small steps, one step at a time. That's my challenge to you. What is it that you can do? What are the things that you need to do to get the job done in order for you to delegate? Why don't people delegate? Why is it so hard for people to delegate? It's because we don't realize all of the activities that we have and what actually needs delegating. Some people may ask, and some people may have been burned by delegating experiences. Well, you have delegated a task to someone, and this is a question that is often posed. Well, I used to delegate, or I had someone do XYZ and they didn't deliver. Well, my question back to you then would be, why didn't they deliver? Number one, was it an appropriate task assigned to that person? Number two, if it was an appropriate task assigned to them, meaning that they were capable, they had the ability, that they could have done it. The second thing is, were you clear in what it is that you needed them to do? And did you have checkpoints? Not that you are micromanaging them, not that you're trying to do the job for them, but again, there's a certain level of accountability that comes to you in getting the job done, is that you do periodic check-ins. Hey, how's it going? Do you need any other resources to help you complete this particular task? Can you give me an update on this? Whether that project is something that needs to be done within a week, or whether it's something that you have on a longer term project, 3 or 4 months, you still want to be able to check in as you're delegating the task, just to see where they are. And there won't be any surprises at the end if it is the case they aren't able to deliver. So you're even doing the touch bases and check-ins, and if it comes to be where they've run into some problems, then you have a choice. You can either reassign the task, or you can say, you know what, maybe this is something that I should not have delegated. I may need to do this myself, and reprioritize your list and then delegate another activity to the other person. So that's it for today. I am going to delegate an activity to you. I'm going to ask that you go through your list of priorities, your list of projects, your things to do list, and see what are some of those things that you can ask other people to help you with, other people to do to help you get the job done. You don't have to do it by yourself. That's one of the things that leaders do. Leaders know their followers. Leaders know their resources. They leverage the resources, they leverage the opportunities so that they can get the job done, be productive and be effective, have great work-life balance, and have an enjoyable stress. I wouldn't necessarily say stress-free, but I'll say less stressful lives. Thank you for joining in today. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me, Marquita Qualls, at entropiaconsulting.com. Visit my website. You can follow me on Twitter, send any questions that you have on Twitter, connect with me on LinkedIn, or give me a call. I'd love to hear from you, love to have feedback and see how you're doing with your delegating. Give it a try. And if you need additional resources, I do have longer webinars and workshops on delegation where we actually go through exercises and activities, but focusing on those three key concepts of effectively delegating, or how do you delegate to get the job done. Number one, be organized. Understand what all of your activities are. Number two, assess your resources to understand capabilities and abilities. And 3, trust the process, i.e., just do it. Have a wonderful day and see you on next month. Bye bye.